Welcome to the new season of Ask An Innovator. I have never been more committed to bringing you fresh, thought-provoking content. This season is all about opting in and Xing up. What does the opt-in mean, and what is Xing up? The X is the X factor. The up is where we're going in this life and on this show. The opt-in, X-up lifestyle is all about fighting for the opportunity and summoning your inner X. Today, our first episode of Ask an Innovator of the year, we are going to set the tone by getting unleashed, released, unchained, breaking the shackles with a spirit to fight for what might be right. This might be the perfect segue for today's guest, a hero who lives unleashed, fearless, pursuit, serving his country, pushing for change, financial freedom, building an empire by serving others. Jack Murphy not only spent 26 years in the Canadian military, but has gone on to be one of this community's personal development leaders and entrepreneur. Jack, let's dive right into this. First and foremost, I have to thank you for your service.
Thank you, my friend. That was an awesome intro.
Yeah. I only rehearsed it about 5 times.
I needed
to get it right.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome. So we talked about the X factor. We're talking about innovation on this show.
Yeah, awesome.
What is your X factor?
X factor, I'd have to say unshakable mindset.
Wow.
So it's going into anything with the mindset that we can do it. Mm-hmm. And that has been the major change, the driving force for me.
Yeah.
Mindset.
Unshakable.
Yeah.
So do you build the unshakable mindset to the unshakable body? Are the two one in the same?
One and the same. Mindset comes first.
Mindset comes first.
100%.
Interesting.
It's the belief in oneself.
Interesting.
It's belief in the system, belief in the process, and then falling in love with that, and it happens, man.
Right. We love to talk about innovation on the show. We love to talk about personal development on the show. Why not right here in Thunder Bay? Why can't we have the X factor in Thunder Bay? Do you consider Thunder Bay to be a world-class city, or do you think we have some work to do?
Well, I think every city has work to do, but I also believe that we've got some incredible X factor here in the city. People that have left the city with the X factor already in them, and it being developed right where we are. Man, I work with a lot of people every day from Thunder Bay and internationally. I'm connected with some very successful people in all different areas of their life. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the people that I work with on a daily basis here in Thunder Bay are at least at par, if not exceeding, some of these other people that I've gotten to know. So we have it here. Mm-hmm. It's just now let's get it out and let's showcase Thunder Bay and the people that are doing it.
Do you believe in the saying that we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with?
I don't just believe it, Cole. Yeah. Man, I live it. I absolutely live it, to the point where I was the average of the 5 people that I was around before.
Right.
And it wasn't exactly leading me on the path that I wanted for my future. Mm-hmm. And so understanding that and really developing it so that I could see where I wanted to be in my future, and then surrounding myself with people that were already there. It's completely radically changed the course of where I'm going and what I'm doing. And for that, I absolutely.
People may look at you and think that it came easy because you're the living embodiment of change in so many different ways. You exemplify it. What did you have to do to make this change? What did you have to do to change the average?
Well, if I can be completely honest with you.
Please do. Yeah, lay it out.
Where it started, the whole falling in love with the process of change started from being an alcoholic. Mm-hmm. And so I started drinking at a very young age, involved in a culture that believes in work hard, play hard. Mm-hmm. I really fell in love with what alcohol would let me escape from.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, it became my go-to mechanism for hiding and coping with things.
Amazing.
So over the years, understanding very early on that I did have a problem with alcohol, that I was an alcoholic, I often tried on my own to stop.
Yeah.
And I tried, and I failed, and went back to drinking and tried again. And that probably happened hundreds of times.
Amazing.
And so what changed is when I finally got to my breaking point and I asked somebody who had accomplished it, who had gotten sober.
Yeah.
And I asked that individual, what did you do and could you help me? From that day, which we're coming up on in just over a month, it'll be my 10th year of being sober.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Amazing.
And from that point
Super
on,
cool.
when I saw that I could succeed at probably
Yeah.
the hardest thing that I had ever tried to accomplish on my own,
Yeah.
by circling myself with other people that were already there.
Yeah.
So that's all I did. I stopped hanging around with the people that I was drinking with.
Yeah.
And I started hanging around with people who had sobriety.
Yeah.
And were living a certain way. I struggled with it at the beginning.
Right.
And sometimes I fought it. I was sober.
Right.
For a day.
Right.
Then a week.
Yeah.
Then a month.
Right.
And now we're coming on 10 years,
10
man.
years.
And I'm
A
not
decade.
going back. I'm not going back.
A decade.
So then when I wanted to change other things in my life, I started surrounding myself with people who had accomplished that.
Yeah.
And I started getting used to asking the question, how did you do it? And then just became a student of that practice.
A student of change.
Yeah, man.
A change out of necessity.
100% necessity. Yeah,
Yeah.
because if I didn't change, I was going the wrong way.
Right.
You know, whether that be jail, death, whatever that
Yeah.
is.
Leaving a path, a wake of destruction.
You know, and I don't. Anybody can kind of
Right.
see where that would bring
Yeah.
you. But I got a tattoo on my chest, man. When I was working with the individual
Yeah.
that I asked, "What do I do?"
Yeah.
He said, "Keep doing this.
Yeah.
Do this." And he said to me one day, he said, "You know what, Jack?" Because I thought I had it licked. I said, "Listen, you know what I did last night? I was able to hang out at the bar and I didn't drink." He said, "I'll tell you what, you do that again, you're going to drink. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but you will. Stop doing it."
Yeah.
He said, "Nothing changes if
Yeah.
nothing changes."
Was there some tough love?
Well, very tough love.
Yeah.
It was, very tough
Yeah.
love. And so when he said that, though, I went and got it tattooed on my chest. So on my chest, tattooed backwards, man.
Tell us about the tattoo. I love the tattoo.
Is nothing changes if nothing changes.
Right.
And I got it inked in backwards. So that every morning when I brush my teeth, I read it. So if there's something in my life that and I heard Steve Jobs say this.
Yeah.
You know, if you're doing something that you don't like and you're doing that for a couple days in a row, it's time to change it, right?
Yeah.
So that's the way I live my life now. If I don't like something, that's not uncomfortable. There's the difference between that. If I don't like the way my life is going, the path that I'm on, then I make a conscious choice and I work at changing it. The first step I take is I find somebody who's accomplished it and I ask them what they did and then I just do it.
Yeah. One of the things that I love to talk about on this show is vulnerability. And I have to say, this is the first episode of our second season, and you brought the vulnerability right there. Is there strength in vulnerability?
Well, yeah, strength and growth. I think it gives other people permission. And I think there's so many people right now that are in a place where they have so much to give.
Yeah.
They have so much that they can offer everybody else or the people that are around them, or even if it's just one person.
Yeah.
But they have so much. Because, man, if you can impact one life, and that life can go on and impact 10 lives, and then somewhere in there we have a Elon Musk, or we have a Steve Jobs, and you were able to impact that, man, oh man.
Yeah.
And so if I can just give one person permission to make some sort of change in their life, then I've done my job. I'm living a fulfilled life.
Oh, that's amazing. You know, for me to sit here and listen and see the courage, we talk about courage. There's fear and there's courage. The two of them, do you believe that the two of them equally create each other? On the other side of fear, there's courage, and the other side of courage, there's fear.
Yeah, I think we get wrapped up around so much on and it's good that we identify what our fears are, because I think through identifying what our fears are, we can develop the courage required in order to go past that, and then just become this different person.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's another thing too. In this person, I was so stuck on before. I am who I am. Man, I hate that saying.
Yeah.
I get why people say it, but I am who I choose to be.
Jack Murphy chooses to be vulnerable. Jack Murphy chooses to bring the real. This was the best 8 minutes of my life. I am inspired. We'll be right back. Stay with us. We're going to come back with Jack. We're going to talk a little bit about entrepreneurship. Ask an Innovator. Stay with us. Welcome back to Ask an Innovator. I'm here with Jack Murphy. Jack is someone who I look up to immensely. We were talking at the break. Some of the best conversations happen at the break, believe it or not. So I like to build in the second segment into what happened at the break. Jack talked about a couple things. Unshakable mindset. Talk to us about unshakable mindset.
Well, the unshakable mindset, I believe we are a product our behaviors that come from the habits that we've developed, from the education we've received, the thoughts that we have, the way we wake up in the morning. And so the mindset I have is, if somebody else has accomplished something or is accomplishing something that I would like to achieve, there's absolutely no reason why I can't. The only reason why I'm not achieving it right now is because I don't know the answers. I don't know the path yet. And so what I've tried to do is remind myself every day that I don't know it all. I don't know close to it all. And so I'm just diving into becoming, this student to learn as much as possible and apply as much as possible to my life from people that are doing it. And man, and that develops that unshakable mindset, because again, if one person is achieving it, why can't we all? And I always share, if it's okay, I always share when people are challenged with the belief that they can do something. I have a guy that I follow. He was born with no arms and no legs. And this fella has accomplished so much in his lifetime. And the story I like to tell about him is he climbed Mount Kilimanjaro with no prosthetics and no assistance from anybody else. He climbed it solo, Mount Kilimanjaro.
Wow.
And when I look at him, I'm inspired, not because he doesn't have any arms or any legs, but because he made a choice, made a decision, and did it. And when I saw him do an interview once, the interviewer said to him, he said, "You have no legs and no arms. That must have been hard." And Kyle looked at him and he said, "Do you know what would be hard for me? Hard would be having 2 legs and 2 arms and not climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. It's hard for me to see so many people that are playing small and not doing things." So when I saw Kyle give that interview and answer that way, that radically shifted my belief in my ability to accomplish things. So I try to share that and pass that on.
I love that. I love
unshakable mindset.
That's an unshakable mindset. So when you talked about being on the path and maybe not finding your way, is mentorship important to you? Are you able to be honest with yourself and say, I don't know? I mean, you're a confident guy. Obviously, you're 26 years with the Canadian military. You're a successful entrepreneur. You've got a beautiful family, a beautiful wife, Erin. What happens to Jack when you don't know, when you hit that wall of humility? Where do you go?
I live with that wall. I wake up every morning, and one of the things I do in the morning is I have a conversation with myself to remind myself that I don't know. And so I'm on this pursuit of finding the answer. Whether that's, I'm in the health and wellness, health and fitness industry. So what a lot of us guys, gals in these industries can do is we can start thinking that we know it all, especially when we have some success. We know the best exercises, we know the best way to do things, we know the best way to eat, we know the best way to do this, that, and the other thing. And we can fall into that trap of not being open to learning new things. And again, we're only where we are right now because somebody before us learned something new. And we're here. Man, if not, we'd still be in caves. So if we had this mindset that we knew it all, we wouldn't be driving around in the vehicles that we have, right? So I try to remind myself every morning that I don't know everything about nutrition. I don't know everything about exercise. I don't know everything about fitness. And so when I see somebody that's doing something a little bit different, getting results, I want to learn how to do that. So I 100% believe in mentorship. I believe in asking questions and doing what other people have done.
Question I really wanted to ask you. You mentioned about being a recovered alcoholic, which I think is absolutely amazing. Often in the hallways of recovery, we talk a lot about rock bottom. For a recovered addict, often they say that the addict has to hit rock bottom before they're able to climb from the solid foundation and build a new beginning. For someone that doesn't have an addiction, how can they still identify with rock bottom as a positive thing?
That's an awesome question, because I challenge people on this all the time. I believe we all have an addiction. We all have something that's holding us back from that next level. It's finding it. So for that person that has a hard time finding what is that thing that I can conquer, that's going to show me that I can conquer anything. What I try to get them to do is take a look and see where they would love to be in 20. If time and money weren't an option, what would you love to be doing? And to paint that picture and get them to really visualize what that one thing is, and then ask them, why aren't you doing that now? And whatever that answer is, if it's time or money, then what are you doing currently that's not giving you either that time or money? And use that as use that as your rock bottom. Because man, if there's something, that's great out there that you would be doing if time and money weren't an option, then use where you are now as your rock bottom.
Yeah.
And it might not be a rock bottom. You might have, the large house with the 3 cars and what have you. But if you're not doing those things because something's holding you back, then that could be your rock bottom.
Right.
Find it and go.
Find it and go. Happiness. Weigh in on happiness. I watched a documentary on Netflix not too long ago. It was called Happy. They went out to define the word happy. How do you become happy?
Oh, I love it.
At the end of the documentary, they came up with one conclusion. It wasn't how happiness was found, it's how it was not found. It was not found from money. That's the only thing they concluded out of this high budget analysis of happiness. Money doesn't buy it. What makes you happy?
So what makes me happy? And I think, and I don't want to get too cocky here.
Go ahead. Be cocky. You can be cocky.
I haven't seen one person yet that doesn't achieve something that they've been working for and not be happy. I think happiness is in the sense of achievement, whether that's for ourselves or people that we're working with or people around us. When we see people achieving things, when we achieve something ourselves, man, I've seen the most miserable person that's unhappy do one extra push-up today. And they've got a smile on their face and they're walking off that floor and they're super jacked up. They are happy. And so if we can design our life around accomplishment, then I honestly believe, man, we can live. And I'm there. Man, I have hard moments. I have hard days. But because I structure my day now on achieving things, small things. But every moment I'm trying to achieve something, whether that's read a little bit. I'll share a little story with you. I just took a course because I want to do more. So how do I do more? Monopolize my time. I believe time is the other X factor, right? If we can really monopolize on utilizing our time to do what we want to do, then we're really nailing it. So I love reading, I love learning, I love applying stuff that I learn. So if I love applying stuff that I learn, how can I learn faster? Because a mentor of mine says, if knowledge is power, then learning is our superpower.
Wow.
Right? So I took a course on being able to read faster, because if I can read X amount in 40 minutes, if I could double that or triple that, that's way more knowledge. Building my superpower, right? So I took this course, and when I started it, I was just an average reader, 200 words per minute, and in 21 days I tripled that.
Wow.
I'm now reading 600 words per minute. That's triple the amount of books that I can read in the same amount of time. Start applying that, I'm like Superman.
Jack is Superman. I heard Jack talk about happiness, and what I heard you say was happiness was goal setting. It's not just setting the goal, it's achieving the goal. It could be a big goal, it could be a little goal. One extra push-up is happiness. I think that spells it all right there. You want to be happy, one extra push-up. You want to be happy, one extra push-up. You want to be happier, 2 extra push-ups. We're going to be right back. We're going to get into money, and we're going to stay vulnerable. Hopefully Jack stays cocky, because that's what we love. Ask an Innovator. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Ask an Innovator. Jack Murphy, opting in, Xing up. We've talked about a lot. We're going to dive into money. We're going to dive into entrepreneurship. Cool. We talked about personal development. For me, I've spent my whole life talking about food. I realize, and I've had some success talking about food, I'm passionate about food. I believe in value. A value that people have with their food boils down to the fact that without food, we die. So when people say, I don't really have a relationship with food, I say, well, you do, because you spend money on it, you need it to live. The thing I forgot about so much in my life is the money piece. Money is so important. Without money, we can't buy food. Tell me about money. Tell me about entrepreneurship. How do the two work together? What's your relationship like with money? What do you think Thunder Bay's relationship is like with money? Do we have financial literacy? Is our financial literacy where it should be?
Absolutely not. Do we have financial literacy? I think for the most part, the general public doesn't. I think it should be more embodied in our school system. And there should be a revamp of how our youth, our kids are being taught to have their own relationship with money at an early age through the education system. And of course, the education system starts at home.
Yeah.
And so it's for us to really figure out, like, what is our relationship with money now? Is it a love-hate relationship with which I think most people have?
Sure.
Is it something that a lot of people are scared of?
Yeah.
I believe a lot of people are scared of, what's going to happen with or without, that money. And so that's where I came from. I was raised where you work hard for your money, get a job, find a very good job with a good pension, et cetera, et cetera. The typical thing.
Yeah.
And what I found is I wasn't getting where I wanted to in life. And through my military career, and I love my military career, but at the end of the day, I was only ever going to make X amount of money, depending on what rank I got to, or there was no way to really increase that unless I got promoted. And even then, there's only to a certain amount. All to end up with a pension at the end, where for the most part, unless you've got a good relationship with money and you've been doing some investing and you learn some different ways to use it, that pension itself is a cut from what you were used to living. So most people have to downscale their standard of living.
Yeah.
Not to mention where our pensions are going to be in the future, right?
Yeah, if you get one.
If you get one. And so what I found by circling myself with people that were financially literate and weren't afraid of money was all of a sudden there's abundance.
Right.
And there's different ways that you can create this ability to, find money in different places. And now that's, again, I talk about being a student of learning. I'm a student of learning more about money because I want to help people be able to have these conversations. Because I'll tell you, one of the things I find is in the industries that I'm in, people don't like talking about certain things. And we know what those certain things are. Money is up there on the top of that list. They don't like talking about money.
Why do you feel people don't like talking about money? What's the fear?
Because I think most people are living a life where they're feeling that they can't do as much as they'd like to, and they don't want to admit that. And I get it. I 100% get that. And they don't want to admit that it's because they don't have enough money, because that says, in a way, that they might not be as successful as they want to other people to perceive them, right?
Yeah.
And so I say, have that conversation. And then when somebody shares with you this method or ability or way or something where you can create more, then do it. Because I'll tell you, working in the health and wellness industry, one of the biggest challenges I have is people see the necessity for them to be healthier. But the first thing they ask is, how much is it going to cost?
What is it going to cost?
Rather than, how much value am I going to get out of this? How much is it going to improve the quality of my life? If I invest some finances into improving my health, will I potentially live longer better? And if that's the answer, yes, then invest in it. And if you don't know how, then, or have a way to do it, then find a way to do it.
So when you meet that type of person that's clearly making a bad decision in their life, they can't find the resources, the financial resource to afford to add to their life. They're obviously spending money in places in their life they shouldn't be. Do you take a loving approach? Do you take a tough love approach, or do you take a soft love approach? Do you like to love on them and coddle them, or do you like to just tell them straight?
Well, I'm straight up in every way that I approach somebody. So whether it's somebody that I know, where I can have more of that straight up, almost, I don't want to say aggressive, but that conversation. Or if it's somebody that I don't really know and I have to be a little bit more gentle, either way, I believe in being straight up. And let's face it, if somebody's doing something that's going to, if somebody was out in the middle of the street, kind of discombobulated and going to be hit by a car, we would go help them and get out of that street. People are doing the same thing with the way they're living their life, with the stuff that they're putting in their body, with these debts that they're incurring and what have you.
Sugar, debt.
100%. So if we can, if we would do that for them in the street, then why aren't we doing that for them when they're safer and they can make a change? Those are the conversations I think we have to have. And that's why I absolutely love what you're doing, because you're going out there and you're having those conversations. And you asked at the beginning of the show about circling ourselves with like-minded people, and are we the product of the people that we surround ourselves with? Man, I love surrounding myself, especially now that we're connected here, because I want to learn more about what you are proficient at, which is that financial literacy. Because
I'm getting better.
Well,
it's a work in progress.
Exactly, right? We won't know it all, but man, yeah, I'm extremely interested in just developing that, not so for myself, for my family, but then as well for the people that I can impact or help out with it. Right?
Yeah, that's so well put. What advice would you give to the would-be entrepreneur? I like to try and save a couple minutes for this question. The would-be entrepreneur, the person who's sitting behind a desk, hating their life, wishing they could get out there and innovate, inspire, create. What advice would you give? What gets them off that desk and out doing something?
Yeah. Number one, gratitude.
Yeah, well done.
Number one, gratitude. For the person that's sitting there, and I don't know which camera is going to pick me up here, I'll say this camera. For the person that's sitting there and absolutely not enjoying your life, breathe. And when you take that breath, have gratitude that you are able to breathe, because there's a lot of people that didn't wake up this morning. As you're sitting at that job that you don't like, understand that that job is putting food on your family's table. So have gratitude for that employment that you have. It might not be your ideal job, but be grateful for it. Because I'll tell you, you will not be able to go out and create something that other people are going to enjoy if you don't have gratitude for what you already have.
Yeah.
100%. It starts with gratitude. And then from there, be passionate.
Yeah.
I see so many people that want to get into, they want to become an entrepreneur and do something, but they're not passionate about it. And if they don't have passion, because it's going to get hard, you're going to get tested, man. And when you get tested, if you're not passionate about it, you're going to quit.
Don't entrepreneur just for the sake of entrepreneuring. Don't innovate just for the sake of innovate. It's got to come from somewhere. You got a burning desire. You want to be able to find something that you can give back or take away from. Something.
And I believe we all have the ability to do it. I really believe we all have the ability to do it.
And at the beginning of the show, we talked about opting into the X factor. Everyone has that X factor. What's your X factor? I mean, that's what we like to come down to. I'm going to wind this up. I'm going to read this. I just wrote it, so I hope I don't screw it up. But here we go. Tim Grover is one of my favorite authors. He writes about coolers, he writes about closers, and he writes about cleaners. Closers read, coolers tell the story, and the cleaners change the story. As far as I'm concerned, Jack Murphy just changed the story. He changed the story on Ask an Innovator, at least. I feel our first episode of Ask an Innovator, Jack Murphy cleaned up. He opted in, brought his X up. Can I ask you all to go out, find an innovator, find a difference maker, find someone who's found their X up, and ask them a couple questions. Get out of your comfort zone. Unshakable mindset. Jack Murphy, thanks for being with us. And mostly, thanks for your service.